Hello and welcome back to the SWAN Pricing Show. My name is Filip Vucic. I'm a pricing mentor.
And I'm Philip Zolota, business mentor.
Today we want to go back to one of our favorite subjects, which is pitching and giving ideas and solving the problem for free, right? Giving your free proposals, something that is severely plaguing the creative industry, but it's usually expected from most of us. So a client has a problem. And then they say, I may hire you, but first tell me what you would do. And then you go and solve the problem. And the only thing that is left is implementation. And then they say, that's interesting, but you're too expensive. Let me give that to somebody who will implement it for cheaper. Because that's easy to find, right? Implementing a plan is easy to do and easy to find. And it's not something that you have to do. That's true. But that doesn't mean that you should gift it to somebody else for the chance of fighting for scraps to do the administrative part of that, the boring, easy part of that, right? It's not easy as in it takes some work, but it can also be done by somebody who is way less qualified than you are, right? Um, so I know you have a particular peeve with that kind of practice. So why do you have that? Why does it bother you so much if it's so normal? And how do you solve it?
Yeah, it's very simple. As I said, people are giving away their know-how for the promise of maybe, future maybe. And then the primary criteria for choosing the technical delivery will be solely on price. And the problem is, as you said, it's everywhere in the expertise-based world, and people are doing that practice, and it's wrong on many levels. And the way how that can be left behind is the adequate standard operating procedure where people implement the paid consultancy sessions, workshops, and similar, and practically navigate both the expectation, defining the scope, and everything around the project in specific stages of work. It's important because they won't be navigating as fast as possible and solely based on cheaper price in jumping into the technical delivery of the project while they were doing the strategic sessions, the consultancy just free of charge. And also the problem with it, they're positioning themselves as the commodity, which is wrong because they already, as you said, did the thinking part of it and now waiting for confirmation of the technical delivery or whatever needs to be done in that respectable manner. And yeah, with adequate process, procedure, and adequate sales cycle, that is something what is definitely meaningful to be implemented within the expertise business. As said, managing the expectations, having a good outline, and you have a clear expectation of the activities, and also in that segment you can easily filter out those who are good fit from those who are not good fit for you because you already understand the requirements, how they're thinking about specific project, and do you feel aligned and see that as a potential perspective for future and long-term collaboration.
Specifically, when you say commoditized,
Mhm.
um, this is the main difference that we do, right? We talk about the SWAN pricing world. By SWAN, we mean people who do services based on expertise, which where it matters who does them. Which doctor told you that, right? That there's a difference.
Mhm.
Um, and which consultant told you to do that, and what do they know and what experiences they have. There's a big difference between doctor and doctor, between consultant and consultant. And when you say commoditized, basically this is the part of the work where it doesn't really matter who does it, and then the only thing that varies is the price, right? Because it doesn't matter which screwdriver you use, as long as it's the right size, which is very easy to determine. What isn't easy to determine is who should be calling the shots,
Yeah.
and it really matters who you use there, and it really matters if you mess up, because if you took the wrong medicine, that could be a very different thing, right? So I think that there should be a distinction here, um, that um, the practice of only charging for what brings you costs, that
Mhm.
is a duck practice. That is a commoditized service practice. So if something costs them money, they're probably going to charge for it. They may charge for things which don't cost them money. Don't get me wrong, especially with banks. uh, but they will definitely charge you anything that costs them money. But this is good practice for commoditized services. It is not a good practice for non-commoditized service providers like us, like our listeners, like so the people that we call swans. Um, so is it a good practice to do? Depends on your on your state, right? We can say, are antibiotics useful? Yes, probably if you have a bacterial affliction, but if you have a viral affliction, then no. So are they good or aren't they? Well, it's not that simple, right? It's simply not that simple, and that's it. You might wish it was so. You might wish it was a matter of mathematics, so you can calculate if it's a good. You cannot, right? If you have a temperature above that many degrees, then they are useful. No, sometimes they are, and sometimes they aren't, depending on the source. So here, um, only charging for what brings you direct costs will bring you to ruin, will absolutely drain you, will not be good for the client at all. And I know clients say, well, I took it to lunch, you know,
Awesome.
you didn't. You didn't have to. You didn't have to. So I made it worth your while. Is their point, right? You didn't have to work or anything. Yeah, but remember when we talked about the difference between legacy effort, the effort that we did throughout our career, and localized effort. So the project specific effort. It is true. It is true. They didn't ask any localized effort. We just had to sit there and listen and maybe think a little, right? That didn't cost us anything, didn't even cost us lunch. Great. However, it's not, they didn't ask us because of the potential of us making a localized effort. They asked us specifically because they know that we did the effort in our past. And that doesn't bring costs, but it doesn't mean that it's worthless.
Exactly.
It's a completely different paradigm. Here, it costs money, not because it takes us hours, it costs money because it took us hours. And there is a difference, and there is a big value in that. And there is completely zero reasons why we should not charge for it, properly charge for it, right? So now we can't do it based on time, that's true. Oh yeah, I just wanted to share this with you
Mhm.
and all of the listeners. I recently had a conversation with a consultant, and I mentioned how I don't charge for time, right? And he
Mhm.
said, "Oh yeah, I heard that that was possible." Something like, yeah,
Somewhere in the wilderness, yeah.
there's oh yeah, there's Mars, right? Uh, because it's so normalized, but it is not in their interest. And when I pointed out that if I'm if I'm charging by the hour, then the more efficient I am, the worse for me. Then he was like, right, that doesn't seem right.
This helped me remind one specific and very recent case with fractional CFO who was engaging with his clients based on the hourly engagement. What is the actual end result? Oh, I'll be committed to the activities within your company for this specific amount of hours. Nice, nice. And what is the output of that? So yeah. That is very similar to the hourly arrangement you mentioned previously.
Because I may have mentioned this, but a few years
Mhm,
ago, um, a client of mine wanted to figure out a way to charge. Um, so one of her clients were a call center,
mhm,
and they wanted to offer something new to users to the users of their existing
mhm,
service. So they asked her, taxes specialist, if people could through their service connect to her to ask her specific hard tax related questions. And she basically she didn't want to say no to a long-term client, but she was afraid of how she would charge for that, because she said, I guess if you divided my hourly rate to minutes. I said, no, you're not sexy phone. The quality of the call is not determined by its length. It has nothing to do with its length. So somebody can have a particularly bad idea, and they could say that idea efficiently in 10 seconds, and then in 5 seconds you basically say, don't be an idiot. And they say, oh yeah, thought as much, thank you so very much, and that's it. And 15 seconds just got him out of a real trouble.
yeah,
And that is not lower value than talking to somebody for 20 minutes about minor stuff. Um, so it simply doesn't make sense, just like it doesn't make sense to weigh two different kinds of medicine and then decide which is a better one for you, depending on its gram to dollar ratio. Yeah, maybe maybe you just ate a dog dewormer, that, and you had a headache. It's not gonna help your headache at all, right? So just because you measure it doesn't mean that it's useful. That you are able to measure it doesn't mean that it's useful.
yeah. I have one also recent example in that similar space. The guy who is a good developer, senior one, and he is more involved in two projects which are now kind of preparing for the exit. And he was also in a struggle finding the proper negotiation tools and outline for his own exit within those systems. And when I was initially having a conversation with him, he said, yeah, I would be happy with the percentage of the project. Percentage of what? Thousands and thousands of line of code or something else? Because in the primary key point was there to find the tangible key elements, quantifiable, where he made a relevant impact in these projects and how that reflects on him upon the exit and afterwards. So all those elements are relevant to make the adequate calculation in the exit stage and the post-exit stage for him, because it depends. Probably he'll be staying there in terms of some kind of commitment, maintaining, making some kind of upgrades, enhancements of the systems, etc., etc., etc. But he only took some very non-relevant percentage of sale value. Not so sure about it. That can
And they
be
usually
pretty
don't know the
much bad and
difference.
hurtful for you.
Yes, and they usually don't know the difference
Yeah,
between the revenue and the profits, and there's the big
yeah,
difference.
yeah.
Especially if somebody else can say what constitutes a cost. Yeah, it would have been very profitable, but unfortunately, I had to buy a new car from the budget. So now we don't have any profits. So sorry. Better luck next time. So I get asked a lot of why do clients act like this, right? Um, what makes them think that it's okay to expect um, basically the most expensive, the most difficult, the most creative, the most human part of the work for free? And firstly, because we've told them they can so for so long, especially in some industries. Um, but other than that, there's some bugs in the human code also called biases, right? Like in the behavioral psychology. Um, in particular, action bias, so seeing measurable outcomes and visible effort as value, unlike anything that they can see, like the invisible thinking that we're doing in our heads. But because I can see it, then it doesn't exist and I don't have to pay for it, which, yeah. Then observer bias, so a tendency to oversimplify complex problems. We talked about the language of
Mhm.
this, right? And they simply favor measurability over merit. So yes, this is brilliant, but this I can measure. So let's go with that as value, right? And of course, they're under various sorts of pressures, especially when they have to report to somebody. So simply the impatience of having something measurable, some progress that they can report to somebody else, ASAP. That sounds like a valuable thing. Unlike the thing, oh, we're just planning, right? We're just planning. We're just measuring. Yeah, but without that, you will have a really crooked result. You can have it quick, but it's going to be like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
wonky. But let's not be overly charitable about this. It is simply not in their interest to change that view because if they see only the tangible part is valuable, it enables them to retain power in
Yeah.
and profits in the relationship with you, right? And as the 16th century poet John Haywood said, there are none so blind as those who do not wish to see, right? It is simply not in their interest to change it unless we make them. And unless we change something about the situation so that yes they have less profits and yes they have less power, but they actually get the job done, because retaining all of the profits and all of the power is meaningless if you're just going to have a bigger problem,
Hmm.
right? um as they say, with accountants, a cheap accountant is much more expensive than an expensive one, because you have to pay the cheap one, the fine, and the expensive one. Do you have an example of this?
Yeah, some of the conversations in the past on a basic type of scenario, we were asked to build some, at that point, a very advanced e-commerce solution, and the client then asked, okay, why would that cost that amount? We could do maybe cheaper. So it's not a problem. We can do definitely cheaper if you'll be the one who'll be playing around entire strategy and how it should look, how it would function, etc., etc. If and we can build any type of web shop solution for you. But if you want for us to build you the web shop solution, e-commerce solution, which will be creating revenue, and that is something else, and that is actually what you are paying. And yeah, that kind of open up the window for them to understand a little bit more what needs to be done and what is required to do something meaningful and which will be long-term generating value for their business in the end. Because in the end, people need to try. They need to scrape somewhere. If you allow them, in the end, they'll do it. It's nothing wrong. They'll say it's business, but you're being held accountable for saving your professional business integrity and be strong in the negotiation, and definitely a level the value given and received.
So let's be concrete about this. Why wouldn't they just go to a more to a more cheap to a cheaper provider? So because people say I have this experience, they tried charging properly, and then they just left. You know,
Mhm.
they just left. And I never heard from them again, and I don't want to go through this experience again, so I tried to be cheapest. So, of course, they're going to do that if you don't provide them with the context, and we talked about this a bunch of times. Um, how do you provide them with the context that they don't dare do that? Because there's a reason why I don't send my kids to the cheapest dentist. I don't dare do that. I don't know enough about dentistry um, to say, oh no, this one, this one is really good, but he's also cheap. Why? I don't know. I wouldn't
Mhm.
do that if I was him. But yeah, he's definitely. So if I was a dentist, maybe I could know that about colleagues for sure enough to send my kids there, traumatize them potentially. No, thanks. I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a part of our job, and this is important, right? It's part of our job to show them the danger of choosing just about anybody, of acting like this is a duck job, right? So that is the reason. Fear induced by you, not unjustly, not unprofessionally, not unduly. They should be duly fearful of choosing the wrong dentist or the wrong translator or the wrong agency, right? Um, and it's a part of your job to show them that. And the second thing is, what can you do about it, right? So they're wrong, okay? And let's say they won't immediately leave. So how do you get them back to the right path? So I have an idea, but I want to hear yours first.
Hmm. Definitely. I have a bunch of cases and experiences there. It's important that you never push them towards something what you find definitely meaningful for that engagement, and you know what they need to do, but they need to decide. It's their decision, and leave them be. You give them the outline, show them the potential consequences, and it's their decision. If they go out there somewhere, do whatever, and receive nothing or less than they have required or needed, and then got back, okay, it's good because you already set up the foundation, and it's not about, oh, I won because I said them not to do that, and I'm the smart guy. You practically try to help them, not necessarily close the deal on the spot, but their decision was to go with cheaper provider, got back, okay, now we are at stage zero again. What I've experienced, yeah, but we already wasted a bunch of time and money there. Yeah, sorry, it was your decision. I told you what can go wrong. You decided to go there. So we are back at uh, position zero, and we are starting from there. If you're ready, if not, I'm also fine with that. So
I can wait.
yeah.
Yes, yes, and this is the we talked about Batna, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you have enough clients, this is what one of the reasons why you don't want to have one client or two big clients. You want to have three plus if you can, because you need two, and you never know when one of them is going to drop. So you want three. You can also have multiple, and the more you have, the less you care about this or that client. Oh, we're just going to wait for 6 months until we get the funds. Okay,
Yeah.
have the coffee and go go away. See you in 6 months. Um, so that gives you a lot of negotiation power, which you need, right? In order to get to a place where you are working for them and not working for them, but with them, right? And the ideas that I wanted to talk about, firstly, it's talking about numbers, things which are concrete, not more or less, but numbers, not adjectives, basically.
Mhm.
You want to describe the situation as precisely as possible, firstly, because you can, and they should see that you can. And maybe they know that they can't see this so precisely. So they say, okay, if I'm going to try to go at it myself or police it myself, that's probably not so good of an idea because I didn't even see this or that or the other. Um, and these biases, these measurability biases, these action biases, you should call them out. You should
Mhm.
say, yeah, I know it looks like the implementation is the valuable part, but it's not. I've done this a bunch of times where I said the implementation, if you choose me to do the implementation, I'm going to give that away. I'm going to charge so much for the thinking part that I don't care if I have to do the implementation
Exactly.
or not. And firstly, that way they can't go with anybody cheaper for that. Um, so I know it's going to be implemented well. And secondly, that puts the whole thing back in its place, right? So I did copywriting a bunch of times, more than a bunch, but I never ever charged for it. It was never in any thing that I promised. It was never in any on any bill. I just if the job needed a bit of copywriting, I did it. Um, to my own knowledge, it usually turned out fine. Am I the best in that? No, I'm specialized in something else. But clients were usually fine with it. But I never charged for it. I never said, "Oh yeah." So the knowing what we need to say and to whom and how, that is one part, and then writing is another. No, I just charge enough for the first parts to not care if I have to give away the second part. That's much better than the other way around,
Absolutely.
than giving away the hard part so they think that there's no value in that, and then they can nickel and dime on who is going to do the implementation, right? So if you're going to give something away, give away the more measurable but less valuable part, and not the vice versa. Anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, just wanted to share one thing. What's often happening in the expertise-based world that a bunch of people who are specifically working with even some medium-sized to enterprise-sized companies, they're being afraid of approaching with a little bit stronger paradigm in terms of systems because they're big. We maybe shouldn't be accessing them that way, having that approach. No, it's wrong. Why? Because they're big for a reason, and they specifically and definitely do have the systems and procedures, and they'll be understanding that you have the same. You don't necessarily need to align in the process, but that also nobody said that you need to work with everybody or anybody who comes into your direction. And that's pretty much straightforward. And definitely, people who are professionals will be appreciating you having a system because that is also something what is building a trustworthy relationship. Not the only and key element, but one of several elements which will be building that relationship from ground up.
You agree, right? I think we can just quickly recap. We were talking about reasons not to give away your best work as a free proposal. We talked about reasons why, which is mostly tradition, which is bad, and biases, and how you go around that, and that's basically calling out the biases and the concrete numbers that you can use, so you can show them that it is risky to give this to somebody else and therefore gain negotiation so negotiation power that you can then use to get the client into the kind of a deal that they actually need and that will actually help, right? And it will also prevent you from having to struggle to price cutters. Where can people find you, Philip?
People can find me on LinkedIn and also my mentorship page, philipzoloto.com.
For my case, it is LinkedIn as well and fearless-pricing.com. Thank you very much. See you next week.
See you. Bye bye.